June 6, 2013. The air is cold inside NSA headquarters. A climate so precise, it might as well be another branch of physics. Rows of analysts tap at keyboards in unison, screens glowing pale blue until they don't. At 10:17 a.m., those screens shift, not to an alert, not to a system error. They turn red. All of them. A cascading wave of crimson bleeds across one of the most secure rooms on Earth. A single word pulses. Prism. At first, no one speaks. Then someone whispers too soft to be sure it's real. That's impossible. Across the world, a classified slide detonates into public view, showing Google, Facebook, and Apple feed private user data directly to U.S. intelligence. This isn't a policy debate. It isn't a rumor. It is proof. And the explosion doesn't stop there. Yesterday, another leak surfaced. A secret court order revealing every Verizon customer has been under surveillance since 2006. 120 million people. Every call, every location ping, every connection. The reaction inside NSA HQ is almost chemical. Shock gives denial, gives rage. Because a machine this massive does not simply get exposed, not unless someone extraordinary made it happen. Someone nobody noticed. The nobody who broke the world. His name won't be public for 3 more days, but for now, the government has only a question that tastes like panic. Who? The NSA has a $10 billion budget, 30,000 employees, decades of secrecy, all overshadowed by a single human being, 29 years old, who forced the U.S. to admit it deceived 300 million Americans. In a twist too strange for fiction, a federal court years later will declare the entire program illegal. Judges will say bluntly that the intelligence chiefs defending it were not telling the truth. How does a man that young crack open America's deepest vault? How does someone who isn't even an NSA employee, just a contractor, possess the keys to a surveillance empire? The real answer starts months earlier, in a place that looks nothing like a geopolitical epicenter. It starts in paradise. Spring 2013. Oahu, Hawaii. To tourists, the island is a postcard swaying palms, neon sunsets, cocktails sweating in the humid breeze. But a short drive inland sits a windowless concrete facility. No beaches, no sky. Just reinforced walls, barbed wire, and sensors that can detect a mosquito landing on the wrong patch of asphalt. Inside, a young contractor badges into an office lit by artificial daylight bulbs. He carries no weapon, no special clearance, no authority beyond the passwords he typed. His name is Edward Snowden. He looks like someone you'd ask for help resetting your Wi-Fi. Forgettable, soft-spoken, a background character in the federal machine. But in that room, something nobody predicted is happening. A quiet IT worker is downloading the unthinkable. Snowden is supposed to be a custodian of systems, a digital janitor, one of thousands maintaining America's intelligence skeleton. Instead, he stares into a dark river no one was meant to look into directly. Every morning, Snowden logs into tools built for omniscience. Not metadata, not summaries, not anonymized stats. He sees actual digital lives. Emails, private chats, purchases, searches at 2:14 a.m. that users would never admit to anyone. He scrolls through classified PowerPoint slides most senators have never seen. One slide Prism lists the tech giants who promised users' data was safe. Another upstream shows undersea fiber optic cables siphoning every message into NSA storage. Then he sees the tool that makes his heart slow, Xcore. Its training manual brags it collects nearly everything a user does on the internet. Snowden tests it, searches an email address, and the screen blooms like a diseased flower. Passwords, chats, browsing history, documents, photos, private fantasies, and fears. Lives unraveling at the click of a mouse. Access without a warrant, without oversight, without trace. the most powerful surveillance tool ever built, and any analyst can use it. He feels his stomach drop, tries to shake it off. He can't. 3 weeks earlier, he watched a congressional hearing at his desk. Director of National Intelligence James Clapper sat under fluorescent lights. A senator asked a simple question: does the NSA collect any type of data on millions of Americans? Clapper blinked, tilted his head, and answered, "No, sir, not wittingly." Snowden froze. On his screen was the truth: an NSA collects data on everyone, not just millions. Your calls, texts, searches, location, voice, mistakes, private moments, all housed in a massive Utah data center, storing digital memories of an entire population. That night, Snowden stared at his ceiling and realized he was watching a crime in slow motion. Not against him, against the entire country. The NSA's job: protect Americans from foreign threats. Instead, Americans are treated as threats. The question that finally breaks him is simple: what world will my nephew grow up in? A world where every bad decision lives forever in a database, where silence is suspicious, where the government knows more about you than you do. Paradise has never felt more like a cage. Late January 2013, Snowden sends an encrypted message. He hides behind anonymity and contacts documentary filmmaker Lara Poitras. His message reads, "I have information you need to see." She almost deletes it, accustomed to conspiracy theorists. But this one knows things only a true insider could know. Things about encryption most hackers struggle with. Then Snowden reaches out to Guardian journalist Glenn Greenwald, famous for writing like the Constitution was a personal weapon. Greenwald doesn't understand encryption. So Snowden does the absurd, films a YouTube-style tutorial titled "Encryption for Beginners," sends it anonymously, and waits days, weeks, nothing. Then Poitras calls Greenwald. This person is real. They agree to meet in Hong Kong, a city of legal gray zones where Western law and Chinese power collide. May 20th, 2013, Snowden leaves Hawaii, tells his girlfriend it's a business trip, kisses her goodbye, pretends it's temporary. Inside his backpack, 4 laptops, encrypted drives, a Rubik's Cube. He told journalists to look for the cube as a signal absurd, brilliant, absurd again, like a Cold War spy novel starring an overworked IT guy. June 3rd, Mira Hotel lobby. Greenwald spots a young man fidgeting with a Rubik's Cube. That can't be him, he thinks. He expected someone hardened, world-weary, carved by clandestine work, not someone who looks like he fixes printers. Room 1014. The kid opens his laptop. Every assumption evaporates. Snowden shows the documents. First, a secret court order demanding Verizon hand over all phone records, not just suspects, everyone. Every call since 2006. Greenwald's hands tremble. Next, the prism slides. Logos of the world's largest tech companies under top-secret stamps. Private messages. Deleted drafts. Cloud files. Vacuumed into NSA servers. Then upstream NSA taps physical cables, duplicating the internet. Finally, X-Score, the digital panopticon. No one speaks. They realize the same thing. This is the most significant intelligence leak in modern history. Snowden sits silently, accepting his life is over, wanting only one thing: the public to know the truth. June 5th, 2013, The Guardian publishes the first story. The internet buckles under traffic. TV networks interrupt programming. Newsrooms scramble. Is it legal? Constitutional? Who authorized it? June 6th, PRISM drops. The world stops. Tech giants deny involvement. Documents say otherwise. The U.S. government goes into crisis. The NSA director sweats in congressional hearings. Politicians stumble. Journalists dig like wolves into decades of secrecy. Somewhere in Hong Kong, in a dim hotel room with blackout curtains, a young man waits. He has detonated the truth. Now he waits for the hunters. June 23, 2013. 5 a.m. Hong Kong International Airport. Hundreds of passengers shuffle toward Aeroflot flight SU-213. Among them, one carries no luggage except fear. Edward Snowden, passport ticking down to invalidity in 3 hours, walks past security cameras that undoubtedly recognize his face. The U.S. State Department is screaming at Hong Kong authorities. Stop that plane. Hong Kong officials stall. What plane? Paperwork issues. Translation. China just gave America the middle finger. Snowden takes off. Airborne. Technically nowhere. Belonging to no country. The plan, crafted by the WikiLeaks legal team, is brilliantly simple. Fly to Moscow, stay in international transit, then catch a connecting flight to Ecuador, maybe Iceland somewhere, without an extradition treaty. But it assumes one thing. The U.S. will play by the rules, which is absurd. The moment Snowden lands in Sheremetyevo, Russia cancels his passport. Not suspended. Cancelled. He is now legally stateless. A person who doesn't exist. Cannot enter Russia. Cannot leave. Cannot buy food. Credit cards frozen. 40 days. Living in an airport. Sleeping in chairs designed to prevent sleep. Eating vending machine food. Wearing the same clothes. Russian kids take selfies with the spy guy. Meanwhile, the world's only superpower pulls every string, threatens every ally, burns diplomatic bridges, all to grab one man. On July 2, 2013, the most insane event occurs. Bolivia's presidential plane, carrying Evo Morales, is forced down in Vienna. Why? A rumor spreads that Snowden might be on board. France, Spain, Italy, and Portugal close airspace to a presidential aircraft. Like forcing Air Force One to land over a suspicion. Austrian officials board, search like common criminals. No Snowden, just a humiliated president of a sovereign nation. Morales later says, "This was kidnapping. Imagine what they'd do to him." August 1st, 2013. Russia grants Snowden temporary asylum. Not because Putin loves whistleblowers, he doesn't. Because embarrassing America is more valuable than friendship. Snowden walks out of the airport wearing the same t-shirt he wore 40 days ago, into a country he never planned to live in. President Obama cancels a summit with Putin. U.S. media goes ballistic. Snowden is now a Russian spy, except he isn't. He is a guy who ran out of airports. Russia isn't a choice. It's the only option. The alternative, black site prison, or worse. Snowden will never see his family again, never return home, never have a normal life. He traded everything for one thing, the truth. Was it worth it? And more importantly, what happens when the most powerful intelligence agency decides to make an example of one person? The aftermath splits into two realities. In one, Snowden is a traitor, helping terrorists, betraying his country. In the other, he is the Paul Revere of the digital age, warning that the surveillance state is already here. Both exist simultaneously, depending on which news channel you watch. Within 6 months of Snowden's revelations, measurable change occurs. Tech companies, terrified of losing users, implement end-to-end encryption. WhatsApp, used by 2 billion people, ensures every message is unreadable except by sender and receiver. Apple designs iPhones even Apple cannot unlock. ESA's leaks just made surveillance infinitely harder. President Obama, who promised transparency, is forced to admit a problem exists. January 2014, he gives a speech. Just because we can do something doesn't mean we should. Oversight boards are created. Reforms announced. Pretending this was the plan all along. Real victory. June 2015. Congress passes the USA Freedom Act, ending NSA's bulk phone collection program. International effects ripple outward. Brazil builds its own internet infrastructure to avoid U.S. spying. Europe passes privacy laws with teeth, billion-dollar fines. China and Russia weaponize Snowden's revelations as propaganda. Tech companies play both sides, publicly outraged, privately compliant. Vindication arrives September 2, 2020. U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit rules. NSA's phone program illegal. Always was. Judges go further. Intelligence officials defending it were truthful. Snowden tweets from Moscow. I never imagined I'd live to see this. The intelligence community calls him a traitor, claiming national security was damaged. Evidence classified, of course. Trust us, they say. The same people who lied about WMDs, torture, and mass surveillance until Snowden proved they were lying. Today, Snowden lives in Moscow, has a Russian wife, a child, Russian citizenship he never wanted, appears via encrypted video link at conferences, charges no fees, still believes he did the right thing, still cannot return home without facing life in prison. The question that matters isn't hero or traitor. The question, do you have less privacy or more because of what he did? If you think the NSA story is wild, wait until you hear about the hackers who stayed completely invisible. Unlike whistleblowers, they never revealed their faces or names. They turned America's own cyber weapons against the world. Stolen NSA exploits, 0 days designed to cripple enemies, sold to the highest bidder. Hospitals locked out of their own systems. Airports frozen. Governments paralyzed. Ransomware spread like wildfire. Entire networks fell under the weight of code built in secret labs for national security. Now it was security turned on its creator. Chaos was measured not in dollars, but in hours of human life disrupted. These hackers were ghosts. No interviews, no manifestos. They watched the world burn from behind encrypted screens. Each attack a message. The tools you build to protect can destroy. One hospital in Germany, one airport in the US, one municipal government in Brazil. Each strike traced to no one, yet unmistakably American code. The irony wasn't lost. The weapons made to defend were now the vectors of global chaos. Meanwhile, intelligence agencies scrambled. Their own creations were out of control. Bureaucracies too slow to respond, software too advanced to patch quickly, and every trace carefully erased by people who understood systems better than their creators. Every public headline hid more than it revealed. Journalists could follow patterns, guess techniques, but the perpetrators remained shadows. The world had a taste of the digital apocalypse, and no one could touch the chefs behind it. It was a new era. One click could erase systems. One vulnerability could topple nations. Trust, infrastructure, safety all dependent on invisible guardians who could vanish in an instant. And Snowden? He watched from Moscow, the ripple of his own actions feeding into this new reality. The lesson was undeniable. The surveillance state isn't a story anymore. It's a playground, a weapon, and a warning. Privacy, security, freedom, these concepts now had enemies that didn't care about borders or treaties. The hackers showed the world what the NSA had been preparing for, but never imagined themselves exposed to. The tools of omnipotence in human hands. The story ends not with justice or capture, but with a revelation. The most dangerous weapons are not missiles or bombs. They are code, knowledge, and a few people willing to act when the world assumes inaction. And just like that, the digital age learned the hard truth. Every system has a weak point. Every secret has a shadow. And sometimes the ghosts are already inside.